How do you distill the life of your child into a slideshow when they have passed? It isn't fair and it doesn't make sense, that's for sure. Then how do you distill 20 months of your child's illness that eventually killed him into a slideshow? We questioned whether it made sense to make a slideshow of Inigo and TheAfter, the aftermath of cancer. The question was, did we feel it would be right for us to share him through this journey? The conclusion that we came up with wasn't simple, but the reasons why and the realization that we did want to share Inigo were many and varied. Not least of all, that we just love him and get to show him off one more time. And so, this is what we came up with. This is Inigo's story. It is our story as a family, but we also understand that this is your story as well. If you followed along with our story, you read about love is the cure and no bad days. You read about triumphs. You read about small miracles versus big miracles. You read about the harrowing day-to-day of cancer treatments, posterior fossa syndrome, kidney disease, immunotherapies, other therapies, and so much more. You also read about faith. By keeping up with our story, you took it in and ingested this moment into your consciousness. The truth of it all is that Inigo's legacy lives on in all of you. This is a story of resilience. It is a story of perseverance. It is a story about learning and figuring out what is the metal within us. Inigo taught Lindy and me what strength truly is. This is our story, but it is also your story. Whether you prayed for us, or maybe you have a completely different worldview, but still gave prayer a try, hoping that in some weird way it might work, and just maybe help us out. These sorts of stories for humanity seem to suck us all into a togetherness. We are so in love with this little boy, and we hope that all of you saw our love through this journey. Inigo lost so much, and yet somehow he knew that, but never allowed it to stop him from trying to progress. This was not easy on him, as you can imagine, but he never gave up. To watch him every single day just push. He was a marvel. He loved living. Kids, it's all they know how to do, is live. However, what we witnessed was next level. The funny thing about living is that we were never meant to die. Because of that, death is so unnatural to us. We weren't made to have an end. We want to say it's natural. We want to say, listen, that's just how life works. You're born, you live, and then you die, with a bunch of stuff in between. But we don't believe that God ever intended that to be true. We believe that death is a consequence of the sin that fills this world. And that brings us to the idea of our faith. From a young age, we taught Inigo, just like we had been taught by our parents, what it meant to believe in a God who gave of himself to die for us. To give himself as the sacrifice for all the terrible things that have enveloped this earth. And that one day we will finally receive the payoff from that sacrifice. That's simply what we taught Innie. That's our worldview. That's our understanding of faith. What that means is that we taught him that until that payoff, being a part of this world means that we do have a beginning and an end. However, because we do have faith in a God who died for us to cure us from the disease that fills this world, we will live again. It's exciting to have this belief or understanding, especially at this moment. Whether you believe in this or you don't believe, it is the belief system that we have, and we want to let you know it is exactly this that helped us get through this moment the way that we have. It's because of faith that we do not doubt that we will see Inigo again. It is faith that enables us to know that Inigo's story is not over. That doesn't mean that this doesn't hurt. It hurts, and we miss him. But as you watch these images and you look at the change of his appearance, and you see how he changed physically, know that his philosophical thinking and understanding of some very deep concepts never went away, never changed. He understood, even through all of this, what we had been teaching him all along. He understood that if he did not make it through, it would be okay. It's what faith prescribes. When we got the news of the very last MRI, it was catastrophic. We knew that this was coming. We were not delusional in any way. We knew the gravity of the disease that Inigo had. One of the things that we made sure to do all along was to communicate with Inni about everything. What we never wanted was for Inigo to ever look at us and wonder why we were not trying to do something for him. That meant that we had to tell him things that we did not want to tell him. As a parent, sometimes you just want to protect your child from hearing about all of this, but that would never have been fair or right. He deserved that. He deserved to know. He didn't deserve it to be hidden from him. It was a Sabbath morning, and as we sat down to eat breakfast, we looked out over the building and onto the fens just out of Children's Hospital. We watched the birds fly overhead, the pigeons flying to a roost and the hawks in search of their next meal, and we just enjoyed being with him. We also knew that we needed to talk to him. We wanted to talk to him before Dr. Chi walked in. Before she walked into that room and told Lindy and me that she needed to talk to us. We knew it would be easier this way. If we took the lead, it would make more sense to him. And so for the next half hour, give or take, I sat there with Lindy by my side and we laid it out to Inigo that this was it, that we had run out of time. However, as we had done all along, we made sure to relay that message with the least amount of doom and gloom as possible. Because we truly don't believe this is doom and gloom. As all children are, Inigo was filled with dreams and aspirations. He had so many things that he had wanted to accomplish in life. This kid was born with greatness oozing out of him in abundance. I laid it out like this. Inigo, we love you. But buddy, we have run out of options. This means that we have run out of time. But we want you to know a few things. Your story on this earth may be coming to an end, but your story is not over. All of those things that you have ever dreamed of accomplishing. You always wanted to be a dad. You always wanted to be. You name it, kid. You've wanted to do everything. And Mom and I want you to know that you will get to do all of the things that you have ever dreamed of doing. It'll just be so much better than we can imagine. Because we believe in a forever. We believe that this moment will eventually be just a blink of an eye in time. Whatever it is that you think you want to do here is still going to happen. But when it does happen, you won't be sick anymore. We won't be sitting here in a sickness-filled world any longer. You will be looking at an eternity laid out in front of you, and with each passing second of that forever, this story will get further and further behind you. Your greatness is still coming. It's just different than any of us imagined it would be, and that's okay. We are so sorry about all of this. Inigo, you didn't deserve this. We love you with all of who we are, and your story will go on. And as we continued talking, he just looked at us and listened. He asked a few questions, and then eventually he said, "Okay, I just want to think about it." And so we stepped back, and that's exactly what we let him do. Later that day, we were on the rooftop garden. Inigo turned to Lindy as we sat there looking at the flowers with little happy bees searching for pollen, with white fluffy clouds floating along in the blue sky above. "Mom, would it be selfish if I don't want to do this anymore?" In that moment, we understood again the depth of Inigo. One, a lot of the work that he had been doing for the last 20 months was for us. He was pushing so hard because he wanted to live for Lindy and me, because he just loved us. And two, that he was ready. He had listened to our conversation that morning. He had taken his time to contemplate the things that we had said. He had concluded that he believed us, that he still had the same faith that we had been teaching him about since he was a little kid, and that if he was going to believe, that meant that as soon as he fell asleep and death came to him, this would all be over. Inigo knew, because he trusted us, that as soon as he closed his eyes and fell asleep to the long sleep that we are all prescribed to go to on this earth at the end of our lives, that his paradise now moment was coming, and he was more than good with that. I'm ready. If it's not selfish that I don't want to do this anymore, then I'm ready. These images are just a snippet of the last 20 months of Inigo's life. It gives you a glimpse if you are reading and following our story. It gives you a visual understanding of what we went through. But Inigo's legacy goes on. The story of a kid with cancer who pushed as hard as he could to get better is sadly not that rare. But Inigo is as unique as they come. Inigo came back after a brain surgery. He fought through falling into posterior fossa syndrome. He trusted us and his care teams to do what we all could to treat his cancer. He learned to walk and talk again. He laughed. He ate good food. He played pranks on his nurses and made sure to tell Sam that she is beautiful. He painted. He played the guitar again. He worked with his bonsai trees. He helped design a Sasquatch Yuji. He wrote a book and actually published too. He rode his bike and so much more. He just crushed life. Every single day that he had life to live, he did it. He taught Lindy and me what it meant to live each day for itself, and in the end, when it didn't work out, he was ready to go. This is the concept of love is the cure. Just look at the world, filled with sickness, sadness, and anger and hatred for one another, and you realize that we need a cure. What we taught Inigo is that the cure for all of the things that we go through is Jesus. And when Jesus died on the cross, we won a victory of forever. We didn't even have to do anything for it. It's the best social welfare program of all time. We're so thankful now, more than ever, that this is what we taught him. That's what enabled us to live through Inigo's illness as happily as we could. This is not hocus pocus for us, nor is it blind reverence. But in all honesty, while we were trying to teach Inigo faith, something else was going on. In actuality, what happened was he taught us what faith actually meant. When Ini did all of the things he did, he was living on the other side of faith, the reality side. Inigo pushed as hard as he did simply because he loved us. All along, he simply believed that in the end it would all be okay, whether he lived or died. He took the lessons that we were trying to teach him. He walked straight through them and onto the other side, and taught us more tangibly than we could ever have taught him the reality of it all. Know that we cried. Know that Lindy and I had long and sleepless nights filled with sadness, anxiousness, and deep contemplation followed by prayer. Know that we sat there as Inigo slept in his bed at Spalding Rehabilitation, and we looked out over the bay and watched the sun go down. We were still sitting there looking out over the bay as the sun came up the next morning. And that wasn't the only night that was like that. There's no sugarcoating. This was hard. Though we wish it never would have happened, we are truly happy that this is our story. We know that sounds a bit odd, but we own this story. We lived this story. We got called to the mat of life. We got crushed, but we never got knocked out. And that we can be proud of, no one more so than Inigo. That is the legacy of Inigo Vega that we celebrate today. A legacy of perseverance, strength, love, laughter, and faith. Paradise now, Inigo. That sounds great. Good night, Ini. We'll see you in the morning.